Which one are we doing first?
The happy one that we just had.
Okay, happiness it is.
All right.
Today we choose happiness.
Oh man, I have really high praise for this movie.
So this is a movie that I've got a couple of requests for.
Yeah.
Wolfwalkers. Apparently, people really want to see my opinion, our opinion on this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they asked.
Yeah. So this is an Apple TV Plus exclusive. Recently, I've discovered that Apple TV has. Well, Apple's finally started putting their Apple TV app on different things. It's even on like Roku and stuff now. Mm. So even if you're not within the Apple ecosystem, you can have access to their streaming service, and it's only $5 a month. And I think, I don't know if it's still out, available like that, but I think they give a 3-month free trial to start. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So that being said, this alone is worth you just picking up a trial, or even paying the $5, because this was astonishingly good.
This was beautiful and like just wonderful, like in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And I know like I know you were kind of trepidatious about watching this initially because like it seems like a fairy tale and
no, it's like a kid's movie,
like a kid's fairy tale, and it is, but it's a great fucking fairy tale.
I was thinking about what to compare this to, and in my mind, like 100%, it's the kind of praise that I can't give almost any Disney movie. Is that I put this basically the feelings I get from this, the emotional journey of it, the investment, the quality of the story being told, I put it up there with a Studio Ghibli film.
I can see that. Yeah,
like, for
sure.
This is that level of good. It's I can't praise this highly enough.
And it's so goddamn beautiful to look at.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hand drawn. There's some computer elements, but it has a handmade feel to it that's really, really charming.
Like a weird kind of smoothness to it.
Yeah. This is really high quality animation. The people that made this clearly are very passionate about it. It oozes personality and charm every second of the way.
Absolutely.
And I still remember both of us were like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then there was a moment with some sheep that happens a few minutes into the movie, and
we just lost it.
Yeah, both of us at the same time were like, "All right, I fucking love this movie."
Like, all right, we're invested. Let's go.
It's really great. It's a moment where a bunch of sheep are being loaded into like this cage to be carted off, and as they're stuffing the sheep in, like they're literally just unceremoniously picking up the sheep and stuffing them in until they're like 3 deep, and the sheep's faces are poking out of the sides of it as like in the longer shots, and the sheep have these kind of Looney Tunes dumb faces, like their eyes are pointing different directions and they're just going like meh. And there's something that happens, I don't want to spoil the moment, where it just, oh man,
it has a payoff.
It's so delightful,
and that just instantly, without a word being said, just instantly like, okay, I'm fucking charmed now.
The character designs are great. The animation is great, but like I was thinking of what to compare this to. So like obviously there's the Avatar Fern Gully style story that it would go along with, but I also feel like I would
like the only thing I compare to with the studio's previous works, like Song of the Sea.
I haven't seen that, and I really want to now.
Okay, yeah.
But I would compare it also to things like, and the Studio Ghibli thing came to mind, Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro, in a way. Like there are,
I can see My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, there are vein, like the joy of My Neighbor Totoro is definitely in there for the first half of the movie, and then the way the stakes rise as the story goes on,
my God.
The last section of the film made me feel like Princess Mononoke did. Like it's kind of astonishing.
Like I kind of want to talk about this movie's relationship with tension for a little bit, because this like, for a movie that on its base, like just straight plot wise, is pretty straightforward. The way it plays with tension and build up and development is so masterful.
Yeah.
You picked up faster than I did, but I didn't realize how invested I was in this story until it got to the part where that really ranks up that tension towards the third act, and it's really Like, it is master storytelling.
Yeah, it is incredibly well paced, and the characters are so natural and charming that you can't help but really love them. Like Robin, the main girl, like she is charming in her own way. And then when you start having the sequences where she gets to know Maeve, the wolf girl, like she is also very charming in a completely opposite way, but they complement each other really well.
They have really good chemistry together.
The most infuriating character is her dad.
Yeah.
There were points where I just wanted to shake him and be like, shut up and listen to 2 sentences, you fucking asshole.
Like, this is getting into spoiler territory. Yeah. I guess the only spoiler I can way is that Sean Bean doesn't die. But
yeah, well,
like that's the only spoiler I'm giving for this. But there's a part early on where you and I both are thinking the same thing, like, oh, dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, oh, Sean Bean voices the character. Which character is he voice? All right, that one's gonna die.
Because like, not only to say like Sean Bean playing the dad character.
Yeah.
It's also Sean Bean going like, when I come back, we'll work on this.
Yeah, it's like he's not coming back. Which I think is interesting because that plays like on a meta level into people who pay attention to Sean Bean roles, but it ups the tension in its own way. But
anyway, yeah.
There's this thing where I don't want to give away exactly how the story plays out, of course, but the thing that you realize is that as you watch this movie and as you are being pulled into its world, when it gets heavier, when it gets bleaker, it gets really, gets heavy. It gets really hopeless for a little while.
But not like in a way that's like, oh, this is for the adult crowd kind of thing, but just in a way that's natural for the childlike storytelling that it's in. The stakes are emotional. The stakes are personal.
It's not edgy.
It's not edgy.
It's naturally a really upsetting situation at certain points.
When characters are hurt and they feel betrayed, you feel their hurt and their betrayal.
Yeah, you feel their helplessness, and especially Robin.
And it plays into the cycles of like betrayal and like always these parental roles that that work as this ongoing theme, and just the way it plays into that through clever use of the dialogue and the delivery.
Yes.
Without giving anything away. It's when you realize like, oh shit, we've come full circle, and it just sneaks up on you in a way that the payoffs in this movie are so goddamn good.
Yeah, it does a really, really good job at it spends the right amount of, like, when I saw how long this movie was, I'm like, this is like an hour 45 almost. Yeah. And the way that it uses all of that time is excellent. It spends enough time on each section where it feels like such a full movie. Like, there was a point where we paused to like take a bio break, and I remember looking, I'm like, we're like an hour into this movie. There's still 45 minutes. There's like a lot of movie to go.
Yeah.
And we felt like we'd gotten so much movie that I didn't think that it was going to go as far as it did in the second half. And I was like, well, what are they going to do? Like, I thought that it was going to be a much simpler resolution.
See, like, I actually expect, that's where you and I differ a little bit on this, because I anticipate that, I didn't know where it was going. I knew it was going to get a lot more tense, though, because I feel like up to the hour point, it's like, okay, we're still setting up pieces.
Well, I understood the setting up of pieces, but in terms of, like, the tone of the movie, I mean, imagine my previous statement about, My Neighbor Totoro versus Princess Mononoke. Those are drastically different movies in tone. Yeah. I would never imagine that someone would take the tone of the first half of My Neighbor Totoro. Like, I thought it would be like, oh, the tension of the ending of My Neighbor Totoro, which is not that intense. It's kind of sad. It's kind of like you are emotionally invested. There is a tension that is appropriate for the story. But at no level does it feel like it gets to the point that something like Mononoke did.
See, I can kind of see it, though, because we're at the bat the minute when the main villain is introduced, and when you see it.
Oh, yeah.
You and I both had the same thought.
We had the exact same thing.
Where it's like, I'm getting some Frollo vibes here.
Yeah, the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
So, if I had to compare this to anything, like, that's more, like, on par with Disney or Dreamcast, I would say, like, a mixture between How to Train Your Dragon.
Disney or Dreamcast?
Well, like, Hunchback
of Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
The console.
DreamWorks, yes.
I have a Dreamcast right there. That's why I'm gesturing. But no, DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, because it kind of. All right.
No. I know it's just a very interesting mistake to make, and I love the Dreamcast, so I kind of love that you did that. But at the same time, it's just like that's
just when Sonic shows up and.
Yeah, man.
But anyway,
gotta go fast.
But I was like, but DreamWorks, because it also has a lot of vibes of the first How to Train Your Dragon too.
Frollo's after the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, God. Oh, my
Tails,
God.
warn the others. Anyway.
Like, Frollo singing Hellfire, and it's Knuckles.
Yeah, right. Knuckles is rapping and the response and punching out. But no, this movie is very much like I appreciate any movie that is just like, yes, paganism cool, Christianity fuck you, especially medieval Christianity, because holy shit, Spanish Inquisition level, like, kill the insurrectionists, like, kill the fucking heathens, like, that kind of crazy medieval style of Christianity where they just murder people, or like that hard punishment for anyone that questions you because you are the voice of God, like that kind of shit. Yeah, that's the tone of the villain in this movie. Very much Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh yeah.
And then the way that this movie is just, it's for nature. It's absolutely for nature. It's a naturalist style. It's definitely nature propaganda.
Yeah, not to the extent of like less obvious ones like Into the Forest or Fern Gully or any of those are very much on the nose about its message and all that stuff.
No, it doesn't give a fuck. It just goes for it, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's good. I am here for it. That is my jam. Yes, I would love to go into the forest and just run with the wolves for the rest of my fucking life. Like, screw capitalism. Let's just run through the trees forever.
Yeah.
I would love that. I would totally let one of these guys bite me and just run off with them forever and leave society behind. That is my jam here.
Who doesn't want cool wolf powers,
Capitalists.
And Christians, that tracks.
Same thing. But this movie is that kind of movie, and it's one of the best I've ever seen. It is better than any kind of Fern Gully style thing. It has like just the Irish charm to all of this. It just feels so,
and it does,
like, it feels so Celtic.
It does feel very Celtic, and it also doesn't come with any of the cynicistic baggage that a lot of other movies comes with.
Yes.
This movie wears its heart on its sleeve.
The soundtrack is wonderful.
The soundtrack is beautiful. It like the sequences, especially when that like the wolf running scene in particular is goddamn beautiful. Yeah. The use of like chalk.
Yes.
And all these ornate motions and Celtic imagery. Yeah. It's just so wonderful to look at.
There is I don't know how much of this was full on hand drawn, but it feels like 99% of it was. There is a deliberate, if any of you have done things like animation or drawing, you know the whole idea of drawing the skeleton of a figure before filling in the details, like the circle of the body and the arms and like the ovals to flesh out the shape of a character. And there are frames throughout the movie where you still see those, like, the
circles.
The basis of those sketches.
Yeah, and for some reason it adds to the charm.
Yeah, it works. It doesn't feel incomplete or unfinished. It feels intentionally a little bit rough around the edges, but in an extremely polished way, if that makes sense. And the amount of detail in this art and the how fluid so much of the animation is, it's really astonishing. Like, if you are if you are a fan of animation, like as a thing, just the craft of animation, this movie's a treat, front to back. From the actual skill of the animation to just the personality of it all the way through. It's great. Like, I can't say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah. Like, if I only had anything to critique about it at all, really, it was like I felt like the beginning was a little rushed at first, but even that it leveled out pretty quickly.
I feel like it was in line with the rest of the pacing. I feel like it actually took a while to get to the rest of the wolf stuff.
Well, it's more like parts in the city, and like Sean Bean initially sounded a little awkward, like kind of like he was getting used to doing voiceover work.
Yeah, a little. It felt more indie. Yeah. But that wears off pretty quick.
It does.
It 100% works. It's a great experience, and man,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I can't find a reason not to give this a perfect score. Like, I can't recommend this highly enough.
Yeah. One of the best of the year.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I wanted to watch this was because initially I was like, oh, okay, it looks like a cute kids movie. But then I saw like best of the year lists from last year, and they were talking about how this is one of the, like, it was always in the top few. And I was like, okay, how good can this be? So I wanted to give it a shot, and they weren't kidding. This is easily one of the best movies of the past year.
Like, there's a reason this movie has, like, what, 99% of Rotten Tomatoes or something?
Who the fuck rated this badly?
There's always one asshole.
Yeah, it's probably the contrarian who's like, I know what everyone else does not. But yeah, this is definitely, and much like that person very likely, it's one of those people that lauds how amazing like Batman vs Superman is, like the theatrical cut. Like it's one of those assholes. But
nope, not doing that today. We're gonna have a good thing.
I'm not going against you this time, Michael.
Yay.
But yeah, this is. Do you want to like?
I'd say like the exploratory, so we can talk about the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I would like to discuss some of the details about like how this movie executes certain points. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, fucking go see it. It's great. And don't watch the spoilers because it's worth seeing as it goes. It's part of the tension.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's gonna be great. Yeah, it's spoilers from here on out. So you have been warned. Yeah. Where to start?
I thought they were gonna kill the mom.
I did too.
Like, I really thought this movie was like, this movie does an amazing job of being something where you think it will have the guts to do the fucked up thing.
And then it doesn't, and then you're happy that it doesn't.
Yeah, it
doesn't like, feel like robbed.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like it's one of those movies where the happy ending is unearned. They put the characters through some shit. And somehow, nobody actually, like, has to deal with some horrible consequence at the end, except for the one guy who deserves to.
Yeah.
But, like, overall, the path the characters take to get there, they have to fight for it. They have to struggle. The little girl, the Robin especially, has to deal with the fact that her father won't listen to her, and constantly pushes her to be quiet. And then the point at the end where he's like, I don't understand, and I'm like, well, just fucking listen for 2 seconds. She's been trying to tell you for the past half hour of the movie, and you won't shut the fuck up and let her talk. Like, just
But like that also plays in the kind of fascinating cycle of like authority this movie has.
Yeah. Definitely has the whole patriarchal side of like the rebellious young girl, like fucking Brave.
Brave, yeah. I got a little bit of Brave in there. But in particular, the way that they always have, like, I'm just trying to protect you, but then the more they try to do the protection thing, the more they turn into, like, the Lord Protector, and then, like, the more the daughter becomes more like her dad, and so on and so forth, and I both have to learn that, hey, maybe this is bullshit.
Yeah. And the whole idea of, like, when it finally comes around to the whole idea of because he's afraid to, like, when he says that, I'm like, part of me was like, that's a little too clean of a moment, but at the same time,
I felt like it worked.
It cuts to the fact of the matter for a lot of parents that are really overprotective like that.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know what to do, and they're just doing what they know, and it's a nice and powerful moment. And dude, when I felt like some Game of Thrones shit was going to happen.
It did definitely have those vibes.
Like, I was like, my heart was dropping. I'm like, are they gonna make this little girl watch her mother get executed on stage as her friend who promised to protect her imprisons her in a cage?
Yeah, that part was like, where it's like, that's really fucking dark.
Yeah, dude, my heart dropped. Like, my heart was breaking, dude. That was really, really upsetting. I was genuinely upset. I was like, oh god. And that's the thing. The stakes of this movie as it progresses are really fucking intense.
Yeah.
Played on such simple, effective relationships between the characters.
Yeah.
And they work and they make sense, but I just, like, I cared about Robin. I loved her. I wanted her to make it through, but when she did that, I saw the helplessness and how wrong what she was doing was, and I couldn't help but just kind of fucking hate her for a second.
Yeah.
Like, in that way that even if you love somebody, they're so fucking wrong in a moment and for such a wrong reason, and you know it's just because they don't know what they're doing.
And that plays into the themes of, again, like, authority and fear.
Yeah.
Where a lot of it comes down to is, like, we're just trying to get through the day. That's all we're trying to do. And when all is said and done, we're just trying to get through the goddamn day.
Getting through the day could mean your mother will be executed on stage in front of a leering crowd that is just goading it on. And it does feel like, you know, spoiler alert for season 1 of Game of Thrones, but it does feel like, ironically, when Ned Stark, Sean Bean, gets dragged on stage, and you're like, this can't happen. There's going to be something that stops it at the last second. This can't happen. He's in all the posters. He's the main character. He's the honorable character. He's done everything right. Like, this is literally his worst nightmare. He is an honorable man who has followed the code of ethics all the way through, and his worst nightmare would be to be dragged on stage and called a traitor and dishonored in that way in front of his daughters. Executed. And, like, that actually happens. So, as much as I know this is not Game of Thrones, this is a kids movie,
I still wonder.
I felt that same anxiety, and the fact that I didn't believe last time. Like, there was a weird emotional callback on that level, and I did not know what was going to happen. I felt like this movie might actually have the guts to do that and have that be the thing that the characters have to come back from. Because some kids' movies do pull that card.
Oh, yeah.
But this movie's better than that. Yeah. This movie's so much better than that. And I'm astonished at the fact that they made me feel the things that I felt. And still, they handled my emotions as a trusted person that I give my emotions to should.
Yeah.
They did not abuse my trust.
Like, this has just the right amount of emotional writing and emotional visual storytelling. And it, like, this is made by masters in their craft.
Yeah. They did not get me invested just to stomp on my soul. You know?
Like, I thought they were gonna do that, like, towards the end when they just all of a sudden, like, oh, we're all happy again. Oh no, Mom got shot. It's a Bambi's mom moment. Fuck.
I knew that was coming, though. I felt the story beat. I was like, they're reunited.
That's where I got lulled into a false sense of security.
That was because that's when the storytelling beat where it was like, all right, we did it. She's back. Cool. And I was like, something's gonna happen. They are being pursued by an angry town right now. They should not be hanging out here and loving on each other. Get back to the fucking cave, guys. Like, not the time. I know you're all happy to see each other, but go. And
even the moment following that, when the wolf spirit like flies up and starts flying away, I didn't think that was they're gonna help her body from there. I was like, oh god, they're leading her to a funeral.
Yeah, I thought she was just disintegrating into her Jedi form and floating off into the heavens. I thought that was her dying.
Yeah, like me too.
That was her. I thought that was the end. And man, this movie puts you through so many interesting story beats. And oh man, when she first wakes up as the wolf, and her father starts shooting at her, I was like, oh god, this is upsetting. Like, this is upsetting.
This can go very wrong very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of mess for storytelling that how to describe, like, you know you're in safe hands, but you're worried they're going to abuse the power at any given moment.
Yeah, and I think that really just speaks to how many fucking movies just abuse storytelling like that.
Yeah.
There are moments where and I was talking about stuff like this before we even watched this movie.
Yeah.
About how there are just points where directors will sometimes be like, all right, you know these characters? Watch them suffer. This is storytelling.
Look how deep I am.
Yeah, it lingers a little too long on a character suffering. My biggest example for that will always be Spider-Man dying in Infinity War. And it's just this thing where the effectiveness of the moment comes from the storytelling around it. You don't need to like just drill down really hard into the suffering of that moment and just make you watch someone you care about in a movie just go through something really horrible for a prolonged period of time just to feel it. And this movie doesn't do any of that. Like, you have been mishandled by so many directors that you will not trust this movie. You will be worried about, like, being hurt in the same way. It's like a healthy relationship after years of abusive ones. Like, it really is. It's like, wait, it's not, this is how it's supposed to be. Oh my God, someone did this right.
It's like, what was that video I saw recently where it's like some woman's like, yeah, I'm gonna make you feel like somebody no one's ever made you feel before, and the guy just pauses, goes, "You're gonna make me feel worth it?"
Oh God!
And the woman just goes, "Do you want to talk?"
Mood. But yeah, this movie is God. I can just keep gushing about this movie. There's so much to love about it, and And the other thing is that for how sketchy and fun it looks, like, the trailer doesn't do it justice.
No, not at all.
I don't know how they could make a better trailer, but the trailer doesn't do it justice.
It hides what it needs to.
It hides what it needs to, but at the same time, it doesn't even show the quality of the animation.
I think it gets enough of it across.
It does a bit, but actually sitting down and watching it and just seeing just the casual scenes, like even at the beginning where she's just like practicing with the crossbow and talking to her falcon and like just being herself, the way that the animation syncs up with the voice acting is so effortless. Like some things will mostly do it right. Like I was feeling that way playing Spider-Man. Like there are plenty of scenes where like, oh, this is like syncing up with the lips really well, and sometimes it's like, not quite, but okay. But this just all the way through, it feels like these characters are talking. They are so expressive. They are so full of life.
Yeah,
it's
there's no cynical bone in this movie's body, which the older I get, the more I appreciate.
Yeah,
and it's more like I wish more stories like this would be told this way.
Yeah.
This especially for companies you think would be able to do that.
Yeah. This is one of the best children's films I've ever seen. No question.
Yeah.
The fact that I can easily just say this is Studio Ghibli level of quality, like in terms of what it delivers front to back, every tier, every aspect of it is that level of quality, like that is where I'm coming from with this. And anyone who's familiar with that work and loves it knows what that means in contrast to your standard, Disney movie.
Yeah.
Which, Disney movies are fine. They're good in their own way, but they are not subtle. And this movie to me is what I wish I would get out of. Like, if Disney did more movies that were handled like this, I would be a much bigger fan of Disney.
Yeah, I see that.
This is miles better. I wish there was more like this in the world.
We'll check out the other movies, see if they compare.
Yeah, no, I'm going to. 100% I'm going to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Are there any themes that we want to talk about? Like, this religious zealotry feels like kind of a shoe-in.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I think that plays into larger themes of authority, like working to a higher power.
Yeah.
So
that happy feet style of thing.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's not aggressively atheist. It's aggressively pagan.
Let me tell you, as a kid watching Happy Feet, that was a weird experience.
I'll bet your parents had no idea what they were getting you into.
I don't think they understood it.
Wow. Okay. It's pretty blatant.
If they did, they never mentioned it. I don't know. I brought up somebody like my age. The movie was like very like anti-Catholic, anti-religion. They're like, what, really? I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
Have you like reviewed it again recently?
I haven't touched it since I saw it in theaters as a kid.
You should probably just give it a watch in the background one of these days. Just stream Happy Feet real quick somewhere, and you'll see it is flagrantly anti-religious.
Oh, like, no, I remember even as a kid I picked up on the themes, but
no, like if you watch it now, you will be astonished, because when it came out, I still remember all of the press around the movie. The problem was that there were like religious groups that were petitioning against the movie because there were religious parents bringing their kids to the movie and then being really upset with the questions they had to answer from their kids afterwards. So,
of course,
yeah, that's fun.
Don't challenge your kids ever. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, right.
I do remember the one. I know it's a bit of a tangent, but the one thing I remember from my theatrical experience and watching Happy Feet is that part where the main character is in the zoo and they keep panning out until it's a picture of the globe, and in the very front of the theater, this little kid just goes, "What?"
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's was done with this shit.
Oh no. The flat earthers got to him early, huh?
This is me insane crowd. But anyway, Wolfwalkers, amazing movie. Go watch it.
Yeah, 100% amazing.
I can't really think of anything else to talk about.
All right, like and subscribe. Yay!
Yay.